Now, we're talking about different parts of the journey, your Dhamma journey, right? And now we're reaching at a point when if you were a practitioner, you start to wonder, how does Paññā help you understand what is Dhamma? All this while, Paññā keeps you going, enables you to decide that there's some things you want to do, why you must do it, and how to do it right. But ultimately, it's about seeing Dhamma, realizing Nibbana. How does Paññā come in? I think the very first thing that it helps you realize for a practitioner is at some point when the Dhamma starts to make sense to you, you will be able to tell for yourself what is Dhamma and what is not Dhamma. What is the practice and what is not part of the practice. This realization, mind you, this is a realization. The realization for yourself, the practitioner, the realization for yourself, what is correct teaching and what was probably not taught by Buddha, not real, not correct. The knowing the difference requires Paññā. The moment you can tell for yourself what is Dhamma and what is not Dhamma, you know there is a functioning Paññā mental faculty in you. That you are able to say this is Dhamma, this is not Dhamma, to be able to make that call and confidently make that call requires Paññā. And I say this is an extremely important part of the spiritual growth. It's a stage, it's a level where you realized it. You are now changing. You are now beginning to understand Dhamma. And only when you're beginning to understand Dhamma are you able to make that distinction. But being able to make this distinction in itself is not realization. It's not finished. It is an important part of the journey. It is important because for the practitioner, it helps them to strengthen the faith, to strengthen conviction about practice. And you need the Paññā to know the difference. To know the difference in the mind, the guy, the practitioner, in his mind, he knows. This is one state when I don't know what's Dhamma. This is now a state where I know Dhamma. You understand? For the person who is experiencing spiritual growth, how does he know he is growing? One of the things he starts to look out for is he starts to ask himself, do I know what is Dhamma? And am I sure that this is Dhamma? Someone with a Paññā that's working correctly will begin to be able to say, I know this is Dhamma and I know this is not Dhamma. Number one. Number two, able to say that at one stage my mind wouldn't know the difference. Now my mind knows the difference. And he knows. The knowledge that he now understands Dhamma Adhamma, that knowledge, he knows he has that knowledge, he knows this is part of spiritual growth. That is important. Okay? And to know that this growing knowledge is indeed happening in his mind. For those of you who are not practitioner, who is new to this game, you have no idea what I'm saying. For those of you who are practitioner, who have been searching for Dhamma and have been practicing and been going for retreats, you know exactly what I'm saying. The question for you to answer for yourself is, do you have the confidence that you already hit this stage? Are you aware whether or not you are in this stage or not? If you are aware you are already in this stage, congratulations, you have experienced spiritual growth. This is an extremely important milestone. Okay? One level. Next level. Paññā is required for the mind to be able to spot is not see. That's why spot, see, realize, understand, rising and falling away of mental phenomena. I will give you the sutta where the Buddha said, he is wise. He possesses wisdom regarding rise and disappearance that is noble, penetrative, and leads to the complete destruction of dukkha. Seka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 53. What does it mean? Buddha's definition of what is panya. This is Buddha's definition of what is panya. And Buddha is saying that panya means being able to see rising and the disappearance of mental phenomena. A mental state comes up, a mental state dissipates. A sensation arises in the mind, that sensation dissipates. You must be able to see it, to spot that there is this change going on in the mind. Spot that it is happening, see as it happens, understand what is happening. And if you can understand as it happens, you have panya. That's what the Buddha is saying. So the first stage is when you can tell for yourself what is Dhamma, what is not Dhamma. The second stage is if you start to look at the mind, you are beginning to be able to see changing phenomena in the mind as they happen. The word seka means trainee. Trainee. So this is a practitioner sutta. If you are looking for a sutta, go check out 53. Okay? Finally, Paññā knows what to do at journey end, the realization of Nibbana. Wait, let me just give you the sutta where it is said. What is the purpose of Paññā? In other words, why have Paññā? What is so important about Paññā? Reply. The purpose of Paññā is direct knowledge, full understanding. Its purpose is abandoning. What does this mean? Earlier on, I ran you guys through a series of questions and answer, remember? Why do you want to do this to your mind? What is the purpose of seeing this mind as it is? It's here. The purpose of seeing the mind is so that you know what's going on. If you know what's going on in the mind, you understand how the mind works, can you let go? This is what the Buddha said. The purpose of wisdom is direct knowledge. What is direct knowledge? Meaning to say, as you observe the mind and see the arising and the falling away of sensations. This is not theoretical. Let's just sit here. You guys are all sitting here looking this way. Now all look this way. Okay? Don't look that way, don't look that way, just look this way. Okay. If you look at your mind, there was one stage where you were not looking here, you were looking somewhere else. You heard a command, it was a command. You heard a command, and then you made a decision to either comply or not. Right? So some of you decided to comply, your head turn. You focus this way. How many mental stages had your mind gone through? Were you aware? You heard instruction, you were looking somewhere else, you heard an instruction, you decide whether to move or not, you move. Now you look this way. 5, at least 5. Some of you maybe got 5,000, because in between 1,000 more, going all over the place. So all these were rising and falling away per sensation, per impression. But they all happened so fast, you didn't catch it. All you did was look there, look here. Correct? So you didn't catch all the intervening mental states. You caught the key ones. And that's it. So in this practice, when you start to slow down the mind, you will be able to start to catch parts. Not the whole thing, you don't have to catch everything, but you start to catch parts. The rising of this, falling, rising, falling. In fact, the moment it rises, it has fallen. Rising, cessation, rising, because it keeps coming at you, point after point after point after point. So, direct knowledge, the purpose of Paññā is direct knowledge. It means to be able to look at the mind, see for yourself how the mind works as it is working. Direct knowledge, you now, right now, look at it and know it and register it. And if you register it correctly, you will understand absolutely. Now that you have understood abandoning, the purpose of it is for abandoning. Can you let it go? Can you let craving, your instincts to crave, can you let that instinct drop? Drop. Okay, difficult that one. Maha Vedana Sutta Majjhima Nikaya 43, okay? Now, the last part of the talk, how do you develop Paññā? For those of us, even for those of us who are quite confident about Paññā, this is useful to know. Huh? 4 things lead to the growth of Paññā. What 4? 4 things lead to the growth of wisdom, growth of Paññā. 1, association with good people. Saprisa, people who are, in fact, when the Buddha used words like good people, he actually means Aryas. A bit tricky these days. In the old days, a lot of Aryas running around, but these days a bit trickier. So, good practitioners, okay? We will tweak it, lower the standard a little bit, and call it good practitioner. Why is this important? This thing about associating with them. Associating with them doesn't mean you just sit next to them, take picture. It doesn't mean just staying with them, service to them, you know. They want to go somewhere, you fetch them here, there, everywhere. It doesn't mean that. You do not rub off by association, okay? It means listening to them, learning from them, learning from them. Why is it important to learn from these guys? Because they know what they are saying. These are the real practitioners. They know what they are doing. If you don't learn from someone who knows what should be done and how it is supposed to be done and how to understand it, then who do you want to learn from? You get what I mean? So the idea here is go and sit with someone who understands the Dhamma and is teaching correctly. Okay? Second, hearing the good Dhamma. Okay. This one here means listening to correct, having access to the correct teaching. Okay? And hearing implies you paying attention and registering it, remembering it. To hear and not remember is no use. Okay? And emphasis is actually on 2 things here. 1 is on hearing and registering, and 2, good Dhamma, correct Dhamma. Okay? Now, if you were associating with good people, so the word is always good. Associating with good people implies someone who knows what he's saying, then the odds are you'll have a chance to hear the correct Dhamma. If you are associating with someone who doesn't know what he's hearing, or what he's saying, doesn't really understand Dhamma, then you are not going to hear the good Dhamma. You hear the pirated version. And we know pirated version, not always the best reproduction. Huh? Okay. This word in Pali is yoniso manasikara. Okay. This careful attention is not careful attention to what is said to you. It is not. This one is in your own mind. You see the phenomenal changing, the rising and falling away of the phenomenal. You observe these phenomena carefully, paying attention to the changes in the mind and in the form. The word in Pali implies, it's exactly as it is. Manasikara is putting attention to something. Yoniso is correct attention. So therefore, the translation is not wrong, except that you've got to understand the word together in order to fully appreciate the meaning of this terminology. And the meaning here is about the practice. Hence the last one here, practicing in accordance with Dhamma. What does it mean? Okay? The Dhamma prescribes steps, eightfold path. You will observe all eightfold paths. As is explained, you will practice accordingly. But that's practicing. To practice, say, Sila, for instance. There's a whole section on Sila, right? Eightfold path, whole section on Sila. Right speech, right action, right livelihood, you know. You will do as prescribed, to the letter, as the principles dictate. Careful attention is daily basis, on a daily basis, point to point, you observe how your mind works. Observing how the mind works, mindfully, sharply, diligently, you just follow, observe. Collectively, it should increase panya. How does it work? Look at it. Why would these four lead to panya arising? Actually, it boils down to two sets of things. It's just two sets of things, which I've mentioned before. One, parata gohosa. How do you, you ask yourself, how do you increase knowledge of something? How do you increase understanding of something? One is you go on the net, you do your research, you dug up whatever available material on a subject matter. Yes? You want to know more about something, you just go and dig out the relevant research material about something. What does this mean? It means you go outside of yourself to look for data. Association with good person, hearing the good Dhamma, means you are collecting information on Dhamma from an external source. That's what it means. And where else can you learn Dhamma? But from, unless you already know Dhamma. But if you don't, then you need to go out and gather the material. At the time of the Buddha, there were no written articles. No written articles, you must hear from someone. Therefore, hearing the good Dhamma. Associating with the right fellows who knows what they're doing and what they're saying. Today is different. Today you have written material all over. So I would add the point that if you know who is a good practitioner through word of mouth, you know that someone has written very good articles, it is perfectly fine to go online, look for their material, look for their teachings, download it, learn it. That's fine. It's part of the Parata Gohosa, learning from an external source. But that doesn't mean you know someone doesn't have a great reputation, but no, must check it out. Give people some benefit of the doubt. Did the Buddha say that? Give people a benefit doubt? No, Buddha says association with good people. So don't waste time. Time is precious. Just go for the solid ones, okay? The next two, careful attention, practice in accordance with the Dhamma. This one pertains to within. Learning as you practice, learning from yourself, from within. You cannot do this without this. You understand that? You cannot just go and happily stare at your mind without having Dhamma knowledge. If you have Dhamma knowledge, but you don't stare at Dhamma, also no use. These are empty information. The four must come together. You cannot have, okay, why is it you can't just go practice without actually knowing what's Dhamma? You know better, meh? You're going to start new Dhamma, is it? You keep staring at your mind, but do you know what to look out for? Do you know how to look at the mind? What aspects of it you should be checking out? The Buddha gave you a roadmap don't want to use. Why? Because I know better. So I will just stare at my mind and realize Dhamma myself. Is it going to be the new Buddha of the 21st century? No lah. If you want the Buddha's Dhamma, you go and check out Buddha's Dhamma. Use the Buddha's Dhamma which is out there to supplement your own practice. That's what it means. But if you are only listening, hearing, jotting down notes, lots and lots of it, copious text, but not practicing, then you are as good as a librarian. No? You've collected a lot of data, a lot of material. You are Miss Wikipedia or Mr. Wikipedia. But that doesn't make you a practitioner and it doesn't make you a realized one. Get it? So all four must go together. Okay? Okay. It is necessary to take a balanced view of Paññā. Let me explain it a little bit further. You see, I said right at the start of the talk that Paññā is intuitive wisdom. The word intuitive seems to imply that you either have it or you don't. It sounds a bit like that. But that's not quite true because you can actually cultivate it. Okay? Which is why earlier on, Book of 4, Buddha said, if you do 4 things, it is possible for Paññā to grow. If it were not possible for Paññā to grow, why would he ask you to do 4 things to grow Paññā? So Paññā can grow. What it means is you may not be absolutely conscious of how your mind is growing. You gather the material, you store up the knowledge, there are more and more things for you to remember and register. You just gather the material. And then when you practice, you start following the steps as the Buddha taught. You just follow the necessary meditation steps and look at the mind as he taught. Okay? By doing these two, they seem to be separate actions. One is storing material, the other one is just staring at the mind. It seems to be very separate actions. But the reality is, inside your brain, some things are happening. They are gelling. There is a process where the mind subconsciously, not necessarily consciously, but just digesting, filing happily. Everything all stored up here. The day when you start to meditate, the mind, if you have stored up sufficient material, the mind knows how to go and pull things out. It will know where to look for the material and correlate it to your experience. That's what I mean by saying, when I said Paññā can be cultivated and can be developed. The point I want to make is, it is not that difficult, and one should not think that it cannot be done within this lifetime. In this lifetime, if you think about it, you have already put in a lot of work to study language. So you have command of language. Command of language means you can now gather material through your self-learning. Next life, assuming we are born human again, you got to start from scratch and learn language before you get to a stage where you got command of language to go and learn. You see what I'm saying? So let's just make use of this life first, and we see how far we can take this life. Okay, now that you have the language, now that you have access, because you must have access to internet, right? If you don't have, can go library, sure have one. Go have access to internet, you have access to a lot of writing on Dhamma. That's when you start gathering, okay? So this slide is trying to encourage you to give it a shot. Next slide is to tell you, don't take it for granted. Balanced view, you see. It is not difficult, but it is not a free ride. You need to put in the effort. You have to spend time to do your meditation, to stare at the mind, to study, to gather material. There are things to do. There's a lot of things to do. I suspect, correct me if I'm wrong, but I suspect that for many of us, we take shortcuts. Huh? We find somebody who knows a lot and just kind of dig it out from the person, so that we don't have to do our own reading and checking. I mean, I give you all the Majjhima Nikaya's reference, right? The odds are, some of you may go check it out, most of you won't. The odds are useful. If you are truly keen on the practice, you should check it out. In fact, you should just buy the book so that you can have it on hand, for easy reference. I want to just close with this point. If you know that you already, but some of you clearly already have the sense that you know things and you are growing spiritually, that you sort of understand the Dhamma, it's easy in that state for us to take things for granted. We roughly know already, we should be getting it right along the way. Paññā has to be cultivated constantly, or otherwise it can fade. It can fade away. You hit a certain point of understanding, if you don't continue practicing, you can backslide. That's the problem. It's like all kinds of knowledge. For instance, you drive, some of you ride bicycles. If you stop driving or stop riding the bike for a while, what happened? Your skill gets rusty. It's like language, right? Your language skill can get rusty. Right at this point, you are trying to understand the Dhamma, you're trying to increase your understanding of the Dhamma, the knowledge. This attempt to increase, it can continue, you can build on it, but if you stop reading and you stop practicing, there is a very high chance that you start to forget things. Buddha's Dhamma, you only remember 2/3. Previously 4 Noble Truths, now 3 Noble Truths. Somewhere in between, forgot. That's the easy one. Wait till you get 37 factors of enlightenment. You try to remember all 37. It gets tougher. And there are a lot of little things, which is part of the spiritual growth. It's part of that knowledge that you have to use to build an understanding. And those details you will forget, especially if you haven't quite seen it. If you have seen something, harder to forget. You've seen it, harder to forget that experience. But if you have not seen it, and all you are doing is gathering material, you will forget. Trust me. Because to you, it's just another kind of information to remember and use. Don't use it, don't remember it. That's the problem. Okay? That's all we have for Paññā.